Halftime Howie here with Jake Cooper, and it's a topic that we want to talk about for the first time on our show. I've always been fascinated about it, but Jake knows a lot about it, talks about it, experiences it. Meditation. Um, I've heard people say they meditate to relax, whatever, but Jake, talk about the importance of meditation and why you're such a believer of it.
What a what a juicy, great topic to discuss. Meditation, as Howie mentioned, is something that I have been practicing for almost my whole life. I think we all do to a certain degree. And in the following, I'm sure you'll recognize why I say that. But I give talks in college universities about meditation. Tomorrow, I'm going to be speaking at Adelphi University and running a mindfulness, workshop there. And I do programs as well as osteopathic medicine as well with meditation. But to me, everyone seems to be on this new, track of throwing out the word mindfulness and talking about meditation. But to me, and to the world at large, meditation has its roots, way back, I think a lot of people take, aspects of Zen, Buddhism and the Buddha's enlightenment, but within any particular religious beliefs, there's Jewish meditations, there's meditation is everywhere. And when people ask, what does meditation mean? What does mindfulness mean? To me, it's pretty simple. I think, meditation doesn't have to be something that you sit in with your legs crossed and your, thumb attached to your finger. To me, meditation or being mindful is just being aware to your surroundings, to yourself, and to the moment, and to get yourself off this, rat race wheel that we're all kind of on. So to me, meditation isn't something that you necessarily have to practice, but rather a lifestyle. And I always say the term, mindfulness means to me being mindful. That means that you are present, someone who's in the moment, someone who has organization, someone who's takes things one at a time. You look at the inverse of mindful, it's mindless, where that would mean that you have a part of yourself that's not necessarily there. When you're walking down the street, you may not smell the flowers, or you have a difficult time, hearing people when they're talking to you. Meditation is so much more than just an act that you just practice with yourself, and its roots, really try to gear you towards reaching enlightenment, which to many of my college students means a state of altruism, when you really connect to yourself and your own, energetic bodies, and, your brain waves really become a lot slower. That's when you really fully are able to feel your surroundings and be connected to the world outside of you. So it's so big in so many regards. But to me, ultimately, the most important aspect of meditation is that it allows you to come forward without limitations. It really has you at 100% attentiveness to whatever activity you may be doing. Yeah.
Talk about who really is the best candidate. I mean, I'm not as knowledgeable about it as you, but to me, I would say someone who is in a highly stressed environment would be a very good candidate for meditation.
Yeah, meditation is certainly correlated, and it has so much great impacts on what you just mentioned: stress, depression, anger, frustration, any emotional pendulum it could assist with. But someone who's stressed is a great candidate. But to me, meditation isn't about a perfect person or a perfect thing. It's something that's for all. And what as my teacher, Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, says, what one's practice and what one tries to do with their practice, as long as they're doing the best they can, that is the perfect meditation. So it doesn't, but I think someone with anxiety would certainly benefit from meditation, from its impacts of getting into the deeper brainwave states throughout the day, as well as really, slowing down, the monkey mind or the rapid mind that we all kind of are on.
I want to bring an interesting twist to this. I want to bring in Phil Jackson into this in the Knicks, because he's always been called the Zen master. And I just read an article which I thought was kind of interesting, is that once a week He brings a specialist in. He meets with all the players, and they have like a mindfulness meeting. And from what I got out of the article is that some of the players were really into it and really bought into it and praised it, and others like felt it was a complete waste of time and didn't really weren't tuned in. So my feeling is to really be experience, get all the benefits of it. You really got to buy in. You can't go 20%, 50%. You got to be 100% committed, and that's why I think some of the Knicks are getting the benefits of it, and others zero.
Well, maybe Porzingis is buying into it because his game is looking great as of late. But I'm smiling ear to ear when you mention Phil Jackson because to me, he's a polarizing guy. He's a very quotable, man from his Chicago Bulls days to his Lakers days and everything with the Bus family. But Phil is someone that I have a personal connection with as I was once at a Passover Seder and lo and behold, I see this man with the Lakers championship ring on. And I didn't know who this man was. He was, my grandparents, had friends, and their daughter was there with her husband. And this man's name happens to be named George Mumford. You could Google it. And I asked George, why do you have a Lakers ring on? Did you get that from Chinatown or something? Like, where did this Laker ring come from? George looks at me and tells me, oh, I'm the sports psychologist for the Los Angeles Lakers as well as Boston College. And I taught Phil Jackson everything that he knows about, mindfulness and all this other stuff. And
Very
Phil
cool.
brings me into the Lakers. And that was when I was about 15 or 16 years old. So that really started, my path to meditation and mindfulness. And
So it all began with Phil Jackson.
It all began
there
with
you go.
Phil.
What a coincidence.
And George Mumford, who Phil talks a lot about in his books. If you ever, if you're a basketball fan, I highly recommend checking out the book by Phil Jackson. It's called Sacred Hoops, where Phil really gets involved in his philosophy on basketball and how he really incorporates a lot of, aspects of this book called The Jungle, where, it's written by a man by the name of Kipling, I believe. But I could be wrong, but Phil's, aspect is about, he was a great manager of any type of ego. He would take Michael or Kobe or Shaq and really get them to understand the concept of team, the concept of flow, and really it was almost a sacred hoops where it was very spiritual, where you would walk around and you would feel your teammates. He would do practices, as Kobe mentions, without even shooting a basketball, with lights closed. He would bring in sage to locker rooms. So he taught that other aspect of basketball that wasn't necessarily, there before him. You had great people like John Wooden before or stuff like that. But Phil and Tex Winter really implemented a lot of a different twist to the game where it was almost like a wolf pack, the Chicago Bulls, where, every wolf kind of knew its order, but they're in flow with the pack. And I think that's why he was so successful, because meditation, as I mentioned before, allows someone with ego like an MJ or a Kobe to really get outside of that and to be greater in tune to their surroundings and taking one play at a time. And it really put the spirituality inside of basketball, and I think what Phil did was great. Yeah.
That's why he has more championships than any other person in the game.
11 rings. 11 rings. Tell that to Stephen A.
And there's been I listen to these talk shows and they criticize Phil Jackson, but you know what? Every year he's been there, the Knicks have got better and better, and I think that they're going to be a playoff team this year, and I think a lot of that is buying into the mental aspect as well.
Yeah. If you can't buy into meditation, you're right, it's not going to work. Like anything else, it requires, one to be open to it. I also do hypnosis, as you mentioned. I don't know if we mentioned, but I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and the same applies with hypnosis. Hypnosis is a form, of mindfulness in a great degree, but it's all about the power of really being open to it. If I'm leading like a mindfulness workshop, some students will get a lot out of it, but I'm sure with Phil's, stuff for the Knicks, some people won't. But I don't take that personally, because it's about your openness. If you're open, you'll allow it to happen. And some people just aren't ready. Some people would rather protect and hold than to let go. But to me, meditation, I look at it as a way of, it's almost as if you're going to the bathroom with your emotions. It's a tremendous catharsis. And a lot of people with anxiety or depression, get emotionally constipated and they don't have outlets. So to me, meditation is a tremendous outlet for one to stay balanced, but also one to let a lot of that stuff go. That playing sports or video games couldn't. And it's very deep and it's very important to buy into, but it's a regular practice and it's a discipline.
Jay Cooper, thank you very much for sharing on
Thank you.
meditation.
Thank you.
All right.